I'm BJ from RidersWholesale.com. I'm here today with Tom Simpson from Motofino. We've been selling Motofinos, or I have, ever since I started my company, I think back in 2006. And I can, say I've sold a lot of different scooters, and you're not going to beat what you find in a Motofino scooter. It cranks every time for you. It runs out of the box. We're going to show you all about these things. I'm going to let Tom explain a lot about his company to where you can just see what you're really getting whenever you buy one of these Motofino scooters. So it's kind of my honor to be down here with Tom Simpson today from Motofino. And I'm going to let him tell you a little bit about his company and what we're bringing to you, the customer out there.
Hey, first off, I want to start off by giving you just a little bit of my background. I was born in China. Yeah, that's right, born in China. I was a military brat. My dad was a military attaché to the embassy. So I grew up the formative years of my life from the age of 0 to about 16 in China. And through that, I made a lot of friends with the Chinese, and I learned to speak the language pretty well, and I learned the customs. In 2000, I decided that I would try to do some business with China, and we decided that we would start by making a little copy of an engine known as the GY6. So we started off with an engine. The Chinese brought me an engine. At the end of World War II, the Germans and the Italians had a meeting, and they said, we've got to come up with an engine that's going to really save gas because our country's running out of gas and we're going to lose the war. So they decided, Hitler and Mussolini decided to put their best and brightest minds on developing gas-efficient models. They came up with two engines, a Volkswagen V twin engine, which was a very, at the time, technological advance, and then they came up with a little engine like this. I wanted to actually bring this engine out so that you could see it. This is an engine and a transmission. This is 150 cc. As you can see, it's relatively lightweight. At the end of World War II, this is one of the engines that was developed by Hitler and Mussolini. The Germans and the Italians decided to quit fighting, to surrender, and they passed on the technology to the Japanese. The Japanese took this engine and developed it during the occupation forces of the United States in Japan. The Chinese tried to copy this engine in about 1989. So from 1989 to the year 2000, they copied this, but they could never get good service out of it. And the reason they couldn't get service out of it, they didn't know why. They brought this engine to me in China, and I took it to my friend at Castrol Oil Company. The guys, engineers at Castrol Oil Company, took a look at it, and they said, Tom, the problem with the engine they're making now, and a lot of Chinese companies still have this problem, is they're using the wrong kind of metals for the wrong type of parts. They helped me identify about 15 internal parts that needed to be made of metals that you can only get from Japan, Taiwan, or the United States. We imported those parts to China and started building this engine, and we call it the Motofino engine. And it became a bulletproof base to all of our products, scooter products. So we're real proud of this engine. Now, because we're an engine company, we're the only company that after we build this engine and before we install it into one of our scooters, we actually run this on a dyno. In addition to having a bulletproof engine, I'm going to show off a little bit of our plastics too and what makes Motofino stand head and shoulders above the rest in China.
All right, we got our 50cc QT6 here. This is our entry-level model. We're going to let Tom show you around this scooter and tell you all about it.
This is our QT6. It's our least expensive model, but still packed with a lot of quality and a lot of features that's going to make you proud to own a Motofino. The first thing you'll want to look at when you receive this, and we're going to show you a little later how your product's going to arrive to you if it's shipped from Motofino. The first thing you want to do is look at the odometer. Every one of our scooters has been ridden around a test track and has been driven to test the brakes, the engine. Everything's been tested. Now that doesn't mean that it's going to arrive to you perfectly, and we want a mechanic to look it over for you. But look at the odometer and make sure that it's got some mileage on it. Then you'll know it's a real Motofino if it has. Another thing you're going to find is that we've put protective plastic coatings on just about all the pieces that could get scratched or marred or broken. So you'll want to peel off the plastic, and I don't have good fingernails, but you'll want to make sure you peel off all the plastic off of all the gauges and off of all the pertinent parts. And that takes a few minutes. You'll notice here on these lights that everything's got plastic coverings. You'll notice around here on this side too that the engine's got a protective cover on it to keep it from getting scratched and marred in shipping. One of the things that we also did in deciding to make this scooter, one thing people don't understand is China is a communist country. And what that means is that as a country, they have everything in common. So the manufacturer of this mold doesn't really own the mold. The mold kind of belongs to the people. So anybody can use this mold in China to make a scooter that looks identical to this. But what the government doesn't control is what kind of plastic you inject into the mold. We use the same high-impact ABS formula that sports companies use for making football helmets and baseball helmets. So our plastics are pretty heavy-duty and strong. And obviously, we don't warrant you, and we don't want you to abuse your product like this. But sometimes when you're driving around in a scooter, you accidentally bump something or hit something or tap something. And if you'll look at this, with that high impact ABS formula, you're not going to hurt your scooter if you just have a bump or a bruise or something like that. So that's one of the big, huge differences of our scooters. Our plastics are built of a construction better than anyone else's. So you've already got an edge. Our engines are much better. Our plastics are much better. Everything's been covered. Everything's been covered that could get marred or scratched in shipping. In addition to our good plastics and our good engine, we also have fully approved gauges approved by the federal government as attested by a seal that I'll show you in just one second. Right here is one of the seals. This is an EPA seal. Inside the glove box here will be another couple of seals. That's an EPA engine emissions seal that you'll have. And here's your other plate for your Federal Department of Transportation seal. So all of our bikes have been approved and inspected to meet all the federal standards. Inside the bike, you'll find a little tool packet that has all the tools necessary to tighten up, and this is true on all of our models, to tighten up each and every screw. So you have something that'll fit each and every nut and bolt and screw in the bike. In addition, there's an owner's manual that's going to be written in very plain and clear, easy to understand English with photographs to make sure that you can understand. These are kind of the high features and the most important features of our scooter.